Okay, somebody asked about plyos for dunking last week. Oh, this works perfectly. Plyos for dunking. So plyos for dunking. Someone asked last week about what kind of plyos. I was either an Instagram story Q&A or in one of these videos, what plyos would you do for dunking? Actually, it was in a short. So, doing plyos for dunking is you don't actually have to do any special kind of plyos. All plyos are plyometric training. Once done correctly, is very transferable to the skill that you're trying to do, but it's no harm to do some slightly more specific styles of plyometrics that would be a little bit more transferable. But again, always think about plyometrics as pretty broad. So the question was specific to, how do I train plyometrics with an approach? So let's say you only did plyometrics, the following plyometrics we're going to look at. You would still get loads of benefits for your sport if you're a sprinter or you're a shot putter or long jumper, whatever it is. Capacity you get from training smart plyometrics is very transferable. Once you go practice your sport, you're in a fantastic position. So looking at this, what we're doing today, I'm going to do two different movements. I'm going to do one single leg movement, and then I'm going to do one approach movement, which we've seen before, and I'm going to try progress it a little bit. I'm trying out the strike movement Hayes trainers again. I'm sure you might have seen the review, and we'll just see how they do on the plyometrics. Everyone should do at least some single leg plyometric work and then normal plyometric work in the same session, separate session, not a big deal, but I think there is some benefit. You'd be surprised at the discrepancy between one limb and the other, sometimes in strength, sometimes in mobility, and sometimes in this mind-muscle connection, at how different one limb can be when you're trying to express power. Even if you have a very good double leg, plyometric, bilateral plyometric ability, you would be so surprised when you go to do a single leg one, just how poor one limb can be, or just how out of touch you can feel with that limb. Now, you'd say, oh, but if my bilateral work is still very good, do I need to do that? I'm sure I'm fine without it. And you're like, yeah, you can keep doing it. But what's the harm in improving one of the limbs if it's lagging? If you can improve that limb, there's a good chance you can improve that bilateral work. So there's no reason to discount it. It doesn't hurt you. There's no real negatives if you can train it appropriately and fit it into your training. So with that being said, I would say try train that single leg stuff. So we're going to do one single leg stuff, and then we're going to do the approach stuff, and we're going to try to get it done within 15 minutes, and then we're going to move on to some upper body bodybuilding, which is today we're going to do some heavy rows, going to do some more strict press from the front, we're going to do some push-ups, probably weighted deficit push-ups, and then maybe some more upper back. Okay, the first single leg plyo we're going to be doing is, the name for these could be anything, whatever you want to call it. So like step up to single leg jump is a run I really like, especially if we're going for that dunking, because if we're going for the approach, we will be kind of reaching with that front leg. And as I say, it's nice to practice the unilateral work, and then I like these particular ones because it gives you an opportunity when we're doing the single leg stuff to concentrate on that jump when you're doing it. So this is one you'll see pretty common with people when they're doing single leg stuff. A lot of people don't do single leg stuff, to be fair. A lot of times they'll do bounds, but I do think that single leg stuff is a benefit. So the height you're doing for these doesn't actually matter that much. The height you should pick is one that allows you to jump the highest from whatever height you're reaching, whatever feels the most explosive when you're doing these is the one I think you should pick. So for me, this is kind of just above parallel from here. I suspect for a lot of you it'll be similar, but you can pick whatever height. It might be lower. If we go too low, you are probably not going to be able to express as much power, but that might be different for you. Slightly higher, it's obviously going to be more disadvantaged. So for most people, it's going to be somewhere around parallel, above or below, depending on your strengths and your weaknesses and how you feel with them. So we're just going to start off. Big thing we're looking for is we're stepping on aggressively, and then we're not trying to jump from back here. We're going to shift our weight onto that leg and then jump and reach pretty high. So I'm going to work my way through these, and then we'll move on to the approach jumping. So these always start off not great when you're doing them. You'll be like, whoa, these feel terrible. But in 3 or 4 sets, you'll see a big difference. Now I bet you can probably see, or maybe it's not totally obvious from the camera, but how much better my left leg is already, and in comparison to my right leg. So my right leg just feels kind of dead, kind of dull. I know it should feel more, you know? And then when I go to my left leg, already at the start, I can feel more power. So when we're doing these, you'll find as you warm up, they do get much better. It's very interesting. They don't feel good from the start, you know? Sprinting feels good when you're fresh. Other jumps usually feel pretty good when you're fresh, but single leg stuff, I especially find the weaker leg really feels a lot worse until you're attuned to it. Okay, see how sucky that right leg is? You can even see the extension of my left leg. Everything's really nice and vertical. But on that right leg, that coordination just isn't there. And think about it this way, if you're running, let's say we're sprinting, or we're running up to dunk. Now, I don't think I can dunk, or not yet at least. I don't think I've ever tried. But if you're dunking and you're pushing off those legs, sprinting is, for want of a better word, just bounds, it's plyometrics, largely. So if one leg is lacking, your approach speed and your speed into that initial jump is going to be so much weaker if one of those legs isn't working up to capacity. So single leg stuff, got to get on it. Rest time in between these. Plyometrics, always best to err on the side of caution, but go by feel. Like strength training, self-selected rest times are perfectly fine. If you feel good after 30 seconds, go. If you need another minute or two, go. Just take your time. So you can even see, I think, or at least I can feel by the 4th set, that the right leg is kind of catching up. It's not as powerful as the left leg, but it is significantly better than the first set with that. So I like those 4 or 5 sets, and now we're going to move on to the approach, or the running up jump. Okay, so when you're doing approach jumps or anything like this, start off low, real easy. It's best to warm up and get a feel for them. Don't start off close to your capacity like you would at any plyometrics in terms of height. Build into it, depth jumps, build up to that height, even during that session. Don't go crazy, it's best. You don't want a sudden change in intensity. You'll get psychologically strange, and it doesn't allow you to warm up and coordinate the movement. So using a resistance band is actually pretty dumb. What you should really do for this kind of thing is get string or twine and just lay it gently, tie it really loosely is the best option for this. Sometimes you see people use sticks. It's not a great option. Resistance band, too strong, pull it with it if you hit it. So it's not super smart. So a string, just tying it super loosely, very easy. Now obviously there's better ways of doing this. You know, if you had a vertical jump calculator, if you had that way of measuring it, if you had a force plate, way better. But if you're stuck with different options, 2 plates with a string, 2 plyo boxes either side, whatever it is, string and adjust accordingly as you can. So just anything loose. This is obviously not a good idea. So when I'm doing these, I know we'll see some athletes step in here and jump, but I like to double hop into it and jump over. It's like if we're doing tomonagi for my judo boys, and you're here, if you're going for that hip toss, and you go under, if you go straight under, it's not as good. But if we build that momentum and go under, it reminds me similar movement. Now, that's perfect for me. Usually you get kind of 5 to 6 good quality jumps when we're doing kind of higher effort stuff like this. It's higher than 2 weeks ago. It feels way better already. So we'll keep tipping away at that, not go crazy with it. I need to get my upper body stuff done. Now, you might have one question, or you might be thinking, Owen, that's kind of jumping forward. Am I not more concerned about jumping vertically? And the answer is yes. But there's 2 things you can do there. First of all, you don't need to worry about it that much. If you're practicing your dunking, I promise you, this kind of stuff will transfer over, but so will any good plyometric training. I promise you, trust me on that one, it will transfer over to it. Don't be concerned. Do the best plyometrics you can do. It'll transfer once you practice your sport. And if this case, dunking is your sport. Now, the second thing you could do, if you have the option, is you could, if you had a target on a wall, if you had, for example, some roof that you could feasibly reach with your finger, if there's a wall that you can do your running beside, and when you jump up, you just tap the wall. So put a little bit of chalk in your finger. Now, obviously, check with the gym where you are and see if it's allowed. Make sure you can clean it up after, if it's your own gym or whatever. If you're in a CrossFit and you've got a rig and you've got wall ball targets or a bar, run up to them and reach and touch. The chalk in your finger is obviously to leave a mark of where you're reaching, to kind of give you honest, objective measurement of where you're hitting. So that's another option if you want. But don't be too concerned. This is as useful. The change from slightly forward to slightly vertical isn't a huge difference. And if you can't figure out in your mind that one to this one, you probably can't dunk anyway. Okay. Or you don't have a good chance of dunking. Okay, let's get on with the upper body session. So I wonder if the strict press will go anywhere. I haven't pursued the strict press at all since I did one 20 years ago. Just never needed to. But once I can get this elbow fixed, we're nearly there. Shoulder position's a lot better. And, Steph has helped me so much. I cannot thank him enough. And we're nearly there with that good overhead position. It's getting better already. I am incredibly grateful to him. But maybe we'll get somewhere with that. Okay, pretty good session done, and nice and happy with that. So everything is progressing that I'm focusing on, which is great. Muscle, more upper body muscle, more lower body muscle. Well, more upper body muscle. Lower body is just maintaining as I cut weight. Upper body is getting there, definitely improving body composition. So pretty happy with that. So you have that plyometric work to do, but again, don't stress it too much. Aiming for a lot of volume on these to be pretty close to failure near the end. Maybe that's from total volume, or maybe that's from the intensity, or a combination of both rather by the end of those. Not particularly on the barbell rows. I don't like going super heavy in the barbell rows for hypertrophy, because obviously you can turn them into more of a deadlift with momentum, which can be useful for people who are trying to deadlift heavy, or maybe some judo or jiu-jitsu athletes or grapplers or no-gi people or wrestlers. But for hypertrophy purposes, it's not great. Not super close to failure on those. On the single arm rows, they were something 2 weeks ago were pretty heavy, but today they're reasonable. So got some extra sets done on that weight, which is 30 kilos and whatever the bar is, who knows. Deficit push-ups, so increasing the deficit. So now we've got essentially 2 plates. So we've got the foam pads on top of the plates and getting really deep into those. So I'll probably go a little bit higher to deficit, or realistically next session or next time I do those, I'll add some weight to them. So trying to hit some high volume, lots of reps, get it done, and I'm pretty happy with that. So jiu-jitsu I think is getting better. Plyometrics is getting better, sprinting is getting better, body comp is getting better, squat is staying fine. No big worries about that. So it's all going in the right direction. I'm loving this style of training. It's really fun. It's really enjoyable. The mental load is quite low, and it's so much fun to be progressing on those and be in a good trajectory. Really enjoying snatching again. I know some of you are probably delighted to hear that, but I really am enjoying snatching, and I really look forward to it now, the last 2 sessions. So I'm very happy about that as well. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next training vlog.